You're tuned in to the hottest sports analysis of the week with your hosts Ron Dolbeck and Chris Roberts. And now, here's the first round.
You've found the show that helps you be smarter than your friends when it comes to sports. You're in the first round with Ron Dahlbeck on a Sunday morning. Huge, epic show. We're going to break down everything that happened in the college football playoffs yesterday. One of the greatest games I've ever seen. Chris and I are going to talk about that. Also, the three most disappointing college football teams this year, I'm going to break them down and tell you why they don't even deserve to be playing college football next year. And we have some very awesome shout outs. You know, here on the first round, we like to support military families and people that are making great decisions. We've got some of those today. And big momentous day for us here. 100 subscribers. We hit 100 subscribers this last week. Let's get to the biggest stories going on in the world of sports right now. It's got to start with number 3 Clemson, 13-0, going up against number 2 Ohio State, also undefeated on the year. I think this was an awesome game, one of the best games that I have seen so far this season. Clemson gets it done in the fourth quarter. I think it was a story of two different halves. Ohio State comes out like a ball of fire. Clemson was like sleepwalking through the first quarter of the game. Then Clemson takes off. Ohio State makes a comeback in the fourth quarter, but it's not enough. A late interception with 36 seconds left to go seals it for Clemson. They'll be playing against LSU. Was there any doubt LSU would win this game? Somebody on the set took Oklahoma on a teaser special plus 19 and a confidence level that was going through the roof. Yeah, that didn't really work out so well for somebody on their set. LSU showed everybody why it wouldn't have mattered if it was 10 Oklahomas, if you took all the current living Heisman players and put them against them, if you took all the best NFL players that have ever played in their prime, it wouldn't have mattered who they were playing yesterday. LSU is hands down showing us again why we should not doubt them, going up against Oklahoma. Fill in the blank with anybody you want. It didn't matter. LSU was going to get this win. They beat Oklahoma 63-28. It wasn't even that close. Somehow Joe Burrow throws for 7 touchdowns, almost 500 yards, runs for another touchdown. And does Clemson have any chance? Chris and I are going to break that game down. We're also going to talk about the national championship game. Other things going on in college football. Penn State gets it done. Both teams, Memphis and Penn State, in the Cotton Bowl, go for the most points ever scored in a Cotton Bowl game. Penn State comes out on top, 53-39. I thought Memphis played with all kinds of heart. We'll talk about that game. Notre Dame steamrolls Iowa State, 33-9. Iowa State was never really in this game, and this is another game that I was just like a bowl game. I'm like, why are we even playing this game? My interest level on that was no. Let's throw out a little bit of love talking about people that serve our country to the service academies. Air Force beats my pick, Washington State, 31-21. Wazoo goes down. Mike Leach has another losing season, disappointing year. Is anybody saying hashtag overrated on Mike Leach? Forget about Mike Leach. Let's shine the light on Air Force. Awesome game. They only threw the ball, 6 times in the whole game, and they still get it done, beating Wazoo 31-21. How about USC? I had them +2. I thought their offense would be enough. Their quarterback gets knocked out of the game. They go into the Holiday Bowl against Iowa and get blitzed. It wasn't even as close as the 49-24 score. 2 of USC's coaches have already been fired, and I think Kirk Ferentz deserves 2 thumbs up for the job that he's done. Nobody ever talks about Iowa. They just show up to bowl games and win almost every single year. Chris and I are going to get into the 3 biggest disappointing college football teams this year. You're not going to want to miss who's on my list. It's absolutely, I have a high standard. If you're going to be in college football, these guys are getting paid a lot of money. The fan base works real hard to come up with money to go to the games, to buy the apparel, to support the team. The coaches are getting millions of dollars. When you don't produce, you've got to be gone. That's it. I have a high expectation. NFL news, Antonio Brown, as a workout with the New Orleans Saints. There was 5 wide receivers working out. This is an incredible story. You're not going to want to miss what happened when he actually showed up to the workout. Other news, the biggest game and the only game of significance that I could even see on the NFL schedule, San Francisco on Monday night playing for all the marbles as far as playoff consideration goes at Seattle. That's a huge game. We'll get into that. Guess who's back? Marshawn Lynch brought his Skittles bag. He's going to get paid $60,000 to play one game for the Seattle Seahawks. If they make it to the first round of the playoffs, he's going to get another $30,000. If they make it to the second round, he'll get another $30,000. I'm going to talk about my thoughts and opinions on Marshawn Lynch coming back. There's a lot of Seattle fans that have already announced that they're winning the Super Bowl because of this move. Not so fast, everybody. Major League Baseball news. Mets signed Della Betances, one-year deal. He'll help them in the bullpen. And Hyun-Jin Ryu leaves the Dodgers, signs a 4-year, $80 million deal with Toronto. That's a lot of money. I don't know if Toronto has enough gas in the tank when it comes to their offense, but that's a good signing for them. It'll help shore up their starting lineup, the pitching starting lineup. Lastly, in boxing news, 2 months ago, I told you this was going to happen. Tyson Fury, exactly on February 22nd, rematch with Deontay Wilder. I am excited about that. I am excited about the notorious one taking on Cowboy Cerrone January 18th in Las Vegas. Oh my gosh, I didn't even cover everything, Chris. What's going on, Chris Roberts?
Ron, we got 100 subscribers, man.
We got 100 subscribers. You're absolutely right.
Wow,
I was out on Christmas Eve. I got into Jag, baby. I'm up by campus. It's raining. I've lost my glasses. There's absolutely no one in this town. And I see these three people getting into a Cadillac. And something inside, I was just like, hey, wait a minute, I need to talk to you. And they look at me like, oh my gosh, psycho killer. I don't know what, I mean, it's completely my fault. I'm a little abrupt. And I said, hey, I've got this YouTube channel. You guys got to check it out. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. I knew we were at like 97, 95, right around there, 98.
Right.
They were the most awesome people. I wish that I could remember their names. I think it was a mom and her kids, possibly. I think her name was Mary. We've got their picture up right here. They just were awesome. They were totally awesome individuals. When you got a guy looking like me coming up to you, it can be kind of shocking.
After you scared them half to death, man.
I know, and they still were. They were like, yeah, let's sign up. And then they were nice enough to take the picture with us. So if your guys are out there this morning, 2 thumbs up to you. We appreciate you joining the First Round family. And we have some actual other people that have joined, subscribed this week, that I want to talk about in a little bit. And, every couple weeks we like to shine the light on people that are doing incredible things, incredible gestures, selfless, giving back, military service families. And again, I met another military family on Twitter, which I'm kind of starting to fade on Twitter just a little bit.
Starting to fade on Twitter, man?
I'm starting to fade on Twitter a little. Twitter to me, this is just a first impression, only being on there for like a month and a half. It's like the hottest girl in school wants to go out with you. Yeah. And then about 3 or 4 weeks into it, you've had 6 or 7 dates and you're like, the IQ on this chick, I don't know if I can do it. I mean, you start weighing the pros and cons from like, she's incredibly good looking, but there's nothing going on upstairs. I don't know if this is sustainable.
It's sustainable, man.
I don't know if Twitter's sustainable for me. I mean,
you just got to find the right mixture with the cute enough chick who's smart enough for you.
What's the right mixture with social media? Because before we started the show, my social media presence was somewhere down in hell near Hitler. I mean, it was like 0. I had no interest in it, didn't need it, didn't want it, don't participate in it. So how do I find a balance between like, I need to be doing this stuff and I don't have to have this in my life?
Well, Ryan, what I've come to learn about social media is I check my social media probably like every other day, just to give myself a break and just to decompress from it, because
that's actually more than you check your text messages that you get from me.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
I get your text messages,
and then you just ignore them. You go right past them. It's Ron.
Sometimes I'm sitting here typing a paper and I'm just like in the zone, man.
Okay, let's get in the zone with college football. People aren't tuning in to hear about our personal lives, I don't think. Actually, there's one Twitter person out there that might be. He's a little Crazy. Anyway, I told you there's some crazy people out there. Forget it. I want to talk about the crazy game last night. Best game of the year. When we had our bowl breakdown last week, I said this is going to be better than the national championship, better than LSU, Oklahoma. This is going to be the game of the year. It absolutely didn't disappoint. Clemson gets it done against number 2 Ohio State. This game had everything. It had Ohio State peaks. It had Clemson coming out in the first quarter, sleepwalking.
Right.
It had Clemson taking back over momentum the whole second half. It was like, I kept saying on Twitter, and I kept saying to you, Ohio State is not playing with urgency. They're not going after and trying to grab the momentum back in this game. And you could say J.K. Dobbins was hurt. Okay, then don't play him. Right. Put in Master Teague and let your best running back play the game. If he's not your best guy, he's not at 100%, don't put him out there.
Right.
Then Ohio State actually starts mounting a comeback in the fourth quarter, only to throw an interception with 36 seconds left that seals the win for Clemson. I can't even say enough things about how amazing this game was. If you are a fan of college football and you missed this game, you are on double secret college football probation right now.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the game. I'm looking at the comments on social media, which was
here we go.
This was very interesting because I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the comments. They're actually questioning the referees about one of the plays last night, which was probably the most controversial play of the game.
The helmet to helmet?
No, was actually the scoop and score for Ohio State, where the Clemson guy caught the ball, took like 3 steps, and the Ohio State.
You're talking about the J.K. Dobbins screen pass.
No. We're talking about the Clemson pass where Okuda actually stripped the ball,
right?
And they scored a touchdown and they called the play back. They called it an incomplete pass. And so as I'm sitting here looking at that, listening to that on social media, and I'm listening to the referees explain why we called it an incomplete pass. You actually see the Ohio State fans like. Their heads are like lighting up, about to explode because
I thought
the
it was
the referee explained the play.
Right. So did you think that was a fumble and a run back for a touchdown?
I actually thought it was an incomplete pass because he took
2 steps with control of the ball,
but he not necessarily. So he hadn't necessarily completed the actual. The whole thing of the catch.
I'm not a good-looking guy, but my eyes work. Yeah. He took 2 steps while he had control of the ball.
He had not had a full complete. Not really. No, to me he didn't. He didn't. I watched the game with you, and I watched the game with you.
He took 2 steps while he had control of the ball. That means you've had an athletic football move.
Ron, is actually supposed to be 3, but that's
wow. That's a technicality. If it's 2 steps or 3,
2 steps or 3, but he did not necessarily so because he's going through the whole process of the catch.
Right.
He was trying to secure it when the ball was knocked out of his hand.
It looked like it was secured to me. Was it a fumble to you?
To me, no, it was an incomplete pass.
I thought it was a fumble. That wasn't even the biggest one, I thought. The J.K. Dobbins reaches his hand out. It hits the ground. Yeah. Then they showed the Ohio State fans going ballistic because, it's a screen pass. It's a little 7-yard throw, which I thought was an awesome touch by Justin Fields. But he reaches out as he's getting tackled and puts the ball down onto the ground. Loses control of it for a good second or two and then regains it. It was obviously a blind schizophrenic monkey going through a Tourette's breakdown who has typhoid and parasites eating his brain would look at that play and know that it was not a complete pass. And the other one was the head-to-head shot. In the third quarter. No, it was in the second quarter.
Second quarter, right.
Second quarter, Sean Wade, the cornerback for Ohio State, comes in on a sack and gets a head-to-head on Trevor Lawrence that was clearly a helmet-to-helmet.
Right.
And that, I thought, was another big call because that just changed the game. Right. The momentum was all with Ohio State. Even though Clemson had been moving the ball, they would get it into Ohio State territory and not be able to convert a field goal or put it in the end zone. They stalled out. And that right there broke it open because, to me, that was a 3rd and 6. It was. And if he gets sacked, Chase Young, by the way, almost decapitated Trevor Lawrence. I mean, his arm went right around his neck, pulled it back like a Pez dispenser.
Yeah.
And he had to go out for, one game. But 3 plays later, they end up scoring. Everything switches, and all the momentum for the rest of the, up until about midway through the fourth quarter goes back to Clemson. Yeah.
So I mean, but you're looking at those plays. It comes to show you just how much experience Clemson had to actually stay calm through that whole situation. I mean, you got to think they went down 16-0. They allowed Ohio State to get into the red zone 3 times, and each time led to a field goal. That defense from Brent Venables last night, it bent but it wouldn't break, and that's what kept them in that game.
At that point, when Sean Wade's helmet to helmet, he gets ejected. Yes. They were up 16-0, had been stopping Clemson on offense. That changed the whole thing. 3 plays later, they score. Now it's 16-7. Then Lawrence goes on a 66-yard run to score a touchdown, which he looked like Tom Brady. I mean, he runs. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but Trevor Lawrence runs like this. He's not running, like a normal standard running back. It's like he has a 90-degree angle to the field, and he runs, and he still ran.
He ran, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not capping on the guy at all. He's one of the greatest athletes in college football right now. But he goes for 66 yards. Everything changes. The third quarter and most of the fourth quarter, Ohio State can't regain the momentum. They're not, to me, playing with urgency. I don't want to hear about J.K. Dobbins not being 100% because Master Teague is just as good as a running back. He's in the same level as him. So put him in and run. They still weren't being able to run. And what I thought that Ohio State went away from is if it was me, I put 3 wide receivers out. And whatever side of the field you're on, if you're on the left side, I put Master Teague in the backfield, put him on a screen over to the right so he's in space. Right. And then if you don't have something open, you got to let Justin Fields run. They didn't use him enough running the ball in the second half. I thought that was one of the death nails for them. And then obviously, 36 seconds left to go in the game. Ohio State is driving. They throw an interception. That's the end of it. Here's one thing I wanted to bring up. You guys can get a hold of us now in the live chat, anybody who's watching live right now, or you can get a hold of us at thefirstraundrd@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at thefirstraund1. I love interacting with most of the people on Twitter, but here's the thing I'm thinking is Ohio State's up. Yeah. They're up by 2. Mm-hmm. It's the fourth quarter. There's about 2 minutes left. And Clemson is driving right down the field again. And what did I say? I say, if it's me, I'm Dabo Swinney. I call a timeout. I pull everybody up there. I say, look, if you get the ball down inside the 5, go down. Let the clock run down. Ohio State only has 2 timeouts. We'll kill the clock all the way down. We have a little 10-yard field goal, 15-yard field goal. We'll win the game. It's almost a guarantee. If you get down that close and they don't. They score on the next play. ETN goes for like 27 yards. Now there's 1 minute and 42 seconds left. Ohio State has 2 timeouts. And what happened? Yeah. All the fans that were so ecstatic about Clemson scoring with 1 minute and 48 left, their faces look like they just saw a ghost because Ohio State starts moving down the field. Was I out of my mind on that call?
No, you wasn't. But, I had selfish motivations with them scoring that touchdown.
Yeah.
So, of course, I'm
they had to cover by that 2 points. So I had selfish motivations wanting them to only win by 1.
Exactly. But, the fact that, Ohio State was able to drive down the field and, again.
How worried were those Clemson fans?
I mean, the Clemson fans, they should have been worried. I mean, they literally drove down the field. And I think what boils down to them actually losing this game last night is something that we talked about outside of the game itself. The field. Oh. The field was horrible.
I told you right when you came over, I said, you got to look at the field. We're going to start counting how many slips there are because they must have put Crisco over that field.
It must be because if you look at that last play and you look at Olave as he's going into that post route, getting ready to cut into that post.
It was like he was on a slip and slide.
It's like he just slipped and fell, and it's like, he's like, thank you for the interception.
Yeah, exactly.
And as looking at Justin Fields, yes, it was messy. He's looking like, oh my gosh, like I just threw this pick, but at the same time,
it wasn't completely his fault.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't think it was his fault either. That was an amazing game, setting up a championship game against LSU, who, I mean, I don't even know how to describe what they did to Oklahoma. Dismantled them like an erector set, destroyed. annihilated, made it look like they never were even on the field. I mean, that was the most complete destruction in a college football game, playoff-wise, that I've seen in a long time, because Oklahoma wasn't any kind of joke. Yeah. Offensively, they were toe-to-toe with LSU this whole year. In fact, in total offense, both those teams throughout the year were only separated by 1 yard.
Yeah.
And I thought that Oklahoma's defense, we talked about it last week. I thought that Oklahoma's defense was playing better. I thought that LSU's defense was a little bit suspect. They're in that 30 ranking overall nationally. I thought that Oklahoma's offense could keep it close and they could stay with them. Wrong. Wrong. Oh my gosh, how wrong was I on that? Joe Burrow, I mean, he only threw for almost 500 yards.
493 yards, man.
Against one of the top top teams. Yeah. Not top defense, top teams in the country. 7 touchdowns, runs for another, didn't even pretty much play a good chunk of the fourth quarter. I don't even know how to describe how good LSU is. It's absolutely frightening how good they are.
Let's put it this way. LSU, yesterday in that one game, LSU set like 7 records in one game.
Yeah, that was in the first 2 minutes of the game. Then they played the rest of the game.
It's like they said. I mean, you had the wide receiver Justin. Oh goodness, you had the wide receiver. He had 4 touchdowns for 221 yards. You had Joe Burrow go for 7 touchdowns. The most touchdowns thrown for an SEC team in any game period whatsoever.
You want to know how off base I was? LSU comes down and scores.
Yeah.
The first 3 drives for Oklahoma did nothing. And then they get a 53-yard bomb to CeeDee Lamb, and Kennedy runs it in from 3 yards, and it's 7-7.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there in my logical brain thinking, okay, so Oklahoma has proven they can score on these guys. How wrong was I? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. I literally went outside for like 10 minutes like an idiot. And I come back. Halftime, it's like, 49 to 14 at halftime, and it wasn't even that close.
Yeah.
I mean, overmatched. And you know who I feel bad for if I'm going to feel bad for anybody is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the class acts in college football, along with Dabo Swinney. I felt bad for him, but I mean, you can't take anything away from LSU. They're just that good. I mean, it's just scary. Oklahoma was averaging 554 yards a game in offense before yesterday. Yesterday, 332.
Yeah.
Cut it by over 200 yards. We're just not going to give it to you. We don't want to do it. Yeah. And by the way, most of the fourth quarter, we're going to have our second string in there. And we're still not going to let you score. And if we wanted to put up 75, we could probably do that too. When was the last time you saw a team that was this good? I mean, it's hard to believe they're this good, but they are.
Oh man, you have to go way back.
How far back do we have to go?
You probably have to go back to like a Nebraska team, like when they beat Florida like 63 to whatever.
Yeah, but I don't think that team was. They were one-dimensional, and it was just like Tommy Frazier option running. This team is just.
It was a domination, though. It was like
that game was a domination. I'm talking about the whole season. This is why I said in the SEC championship game that Georgia has nothing to hang their heads down about, even though they got blown out. They had all kinds of injuries. Jake Fromm didn't have Cager to throw to. He was missing his other wide receiver the first half. And LSU, honestly, in that game could have put up another 2 touchdowns easily if they wanted to. Yeah. It's just like so sick how good they are.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, even if you go back, you look at as far as matchup-wise, as far as matchup-wise for team, receiver for receiver, I mean, look at the Alabama game. I mean, they
go into Alabama and beat Alabama.
They beat Alabama, and they literally took their foot off the gas. They could have beat Alabama by over 20 points.
Maybe a touchdown. We're going to get in a discussion about that. I didn't think that, it was a 4 or 5 point win, and that's about as close as it was because their defense wasn't doing anything in that game. Alabama was doing whatever they wanted, but LSU is clearly, it's not even close. They're the number 1 team. Does Clemson have any chance in this game? I hate to put it that way because I love Clemson. I think they're well balanced. They have one of the best coaches.
I say yes.
I do too.
I say yes. That as a matter of fact, I
But
think this game is going to be closer than what the.
So the line came out.
Yeah. And
6.5 points, but I think that line's going to go up. I think a lot of people are going to look at that, and by game time, I think it's going to be over 7 because I think a lot of people are going to look at what LSU did, and they're going to think, man, 7 points, that's not a lot. I would have to take LSU right now. It's 6.5. As much as I respect Clemson and Dabo Swinney and everything that they've gotten, well balanced and all that, I'd still have to go LSU on. And if it's 6.5 points, I got to give the 6.5.
Well, the reason I would take Clemson simply is because LSU is down their running back, and you don't know if he's going to be healthy in that game. Mm-hmm. And if you are one-dimensional going against Clemson, you're going to have some issues. You have to be balanced running the ball.
You're talking about Herron yesterday, or the running back for LSU.
Yes.
So, yeah, he played yesterday. He didn't look injured, and his backups looked as good as he looked. But I think that's a non-issue.
But again, that's an Oklahoma defense. You seen last night what Clemson was able to do once their defense got locked in and they stopped sleepwalking. Mm-hmm. They basically, that running game for Ohio State last night, they were able to get in there and penetrate and actually stop the running backs. So if they're able to do that against LSU, I mean, that's going to be an issue. That's going to be an issue.
I just think that LSU is just so many light years ahead of everybody else. I mean, they've just separated themselves. I think it's going to be a good game, but the best game of the year, I think, still was the Clemson-Ohio State game. You know, we want to thank everybody that's joined us on Twitter and joined us here subscribing. You're joining up the family of the first round. We appreciate you guys supporting us in so many ways. Couple shout-outs. Let's get to some shout-outs real quick before we finish up the other games in college football yesterday. New subscriber, Eva in Louisville. She's a big Louisville fan and loves the Saints. It's easy to love the Saints, and she's a Lamar Jackson fan, so it's like everything in her world is coming up roses right now. Even in Louisville, we appreciate you joining. How about Stacy and Chuck? Some people I met, I actually met Stacy yesterday on Twitter, and, you know, somebody threw out something about, so did Oklahoma really deserve to be 4? It should have been Georgia, and I was like, you're out of your mind. Georgia didn't even win their conference. I mean, I'm not putting down Georgia, but I thought it was a close argument. And I thought that Oklahoma should have been in 4 because it really didn't matter who was at 4. LSU was going to crush them. But I wanted to shine the light on Stacy and Chuck's family a little bit. This whole family, like other families that we've talked about, is all about service to our country and allowing you and I to have freedom here and not worry about whether we're going to get bombed and have anthrax attacks and other things because their family has been dedicated to service to our country, which is awesome. Stacy's husband, Chuck, was a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. So we say thank you to you, Chuck, for all your years of service. Their son, Tyler, serves in the United States Marine Corps also. So thank you to Tyler. Their other son, Charles, also United States Marine Corps vet. Thank you to you, Charles. Then Stacy's dad. This is how deep this family runs with service to our country. His name was Bo Bannister. Served in the United States Marine Corps in Vietnam, then ended up going into the United States Air Force and retired USAF, United States Air Force, Chief Master Sergeant.
Oh, wow.
Bo Bannister. So, Bo, all of us here at our family in the first round, Stacy, Chuck, Tyler, Charles, your whole family, we salute you guys. We thank you for being awesome, for being one of the great stories out there that we can shine the light on in the first round while we talk about sports. But, you know, it's also good to interject good stories just about life and people helping each other out. Right. And I don't mind it. You know, I got an email a couple weeks ago about why don't you just stick to sports? And I'm like, well, why don't you become a human being? Right. When you see great people out there doing sacrificial things, and it's not just the people that are serving, because people in a military family like Stacy and Chuck, they'll be the first ones to chime in right now, guarantee you, and tell you it's not just the people serving. The whole family has to move. It's a sacrifice for the wife who might not be serving, or vice versa, or the kids that aren't serving. You know, growing up in a military family, we moved around a lot. it's not just the people serving, and everybody in the family deserves credit and deserves a spotlight of honor on them. So we say thank you to all of our members of our family out there who have people in the service helping us to be able to sit here this morning and have freedom, say whatever we want to say, worship whatever God we want to worship, and have freedom here in America. And I don't mind taking a break from sports once in a while to kind of shine the spotlight on people that, deserve it, that are selfless.
Yeah. I mean, that's big, to have a whole family serve. I mean, it's just that the sacrifice in itself to have a whole family from a dad to a daughter. I mean, the generations.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just big. I mean, thank you guys for your service.
Yep, and that's why we've got the first round studios. We call them the St. Jude Studios because we love what St. Jude does. You can go to rondalbeck.com in the top right-hand corner. You can click on to donate to St. Jude or learn about all the great work that St. Jude does, but they're another one that we like to shine the spotlight on. Let's get back to college football right now. Penn State gets it done against a very stout, heart-filled Memphis team. I think the new head coach at Memphis, Ryan Silverfield, had them ready to go against another James Franklin, well-coached Penn State team in the Cotton Bowl. 53-39. It was actually that close. Memphis, excuse me. Memphis was moving the ball pretty much whenever they wanted to. Right. What cost them in this game, I thought, was turnovers. But I think Memphis is headed in the right direction. And great job to Penn State capping off their season with a Cotton Bowl win.
Yeah, looking at that game, I was actually intrigued in this game because I actually want to see what this Memphis offense can actually do against a
good defense.
Actually, pretty decent defense, and the fact to see them move the ball down the field by both being able to run and pass the ball, I was like, wow, I'm actually, I was actually impressed by this Memphis offense.
I was too. Memphis has nothing to hang their head about. They had a great season. Like I said, moving forward with Ryan Silverfield, I think they're going to be going in the right direction, and it's the same old cliche thing. Penn State gets a win to build on next season in their recruiting. Right. And, it is a good season for them. And these teams put up more points in the Cotton Bowl yesterday. I feel like Trump. I've got the Trump thing going. With the finger right here, the game was incredible. Everything about it was amazing. We're going to make college football great again. You guys stop me. When you see me doing the finger like this, you got to, Ron, cut it. Ray Boom Boom, somebody throw a brick at me. Anyway, they scored more points, these two combined teams, than any other Cotton Bowl game in history. I thought it was an entertaining game, a well-played game. I thought it was great. Notre Dame 33-9 over Iowa State. Who cares? I mean, I'm not even going to read the stats on that game. Absolutely no interest value at all. Let's talk about USC and the Holiday Bowl going up against Iowa. The Holiday Bowl is known for bringing in the teams that almost made it into that playoff bracket, but not quite. Always a great matchup. It's usually a great game. Actually, why don't we just get into our most disappointing teams this year?
Let's just go about it.
While we're talking about it. Now, I don't know who you've got on your list. I guess I gave away one of my teams, but I'm going to start with number 3 most disappointing team in college football this year is Texas. At the end of last year, what did we hear in the bowl game from Sam Ehlinger? We're back. Really? I bought into the hype. I thought that their offense was going to be awesome. I thought Sam Ehlinger was going to be a Heisman candidate. I thought their defense could be solid enough to keep them in games. And I thought Tom Herman had them going in the right direction. Man, I was so wrong. 107th nationally ranked overall defense. If that's not disappointing, I don't know what is. Late season losses that were must wins for them against TCU and Iowa State. Last time I checked, TCU isn't playing in a bowl game against anybody on New Year's Day or any other bowl game. So very disappointing there. This is what really got it for me. In about week 3 of the season, after the loss at home to LSU and a lackluster performance in a win against Oklahoma State, we heard rumors coming out of Austin that Tom Herman had lost the team in week 3 or 4. Your defense is terrible. You've got late season losses that you shouldn't be having. You're firing your staff members, I think, to keep your position there. And on top of that, you've lost the team. Texas is my number 3 most disappointing team in college football this season.
My number 3 most disappointing team this season has to go to the Washington Huskies. I'm looking at...
Wait a minute. They have a winning record, and they won their bowl game.
They won their bowl game, Ryan.
Okay, I got to hear this.
When you're looking at this Washington team, they have been the cream of the crop as far as it goes in the Pac-12 for the last few years. And, really their only competition in the Pac-12 North was, or should have been, was Oregon. So, they had an up and down season. You had a decent quarterback. So you had a decent quarterback come in with Jacob Eason to come in. He had an up and down season. You look at some of the games that they lost, and you're kind of scratching your head like, okay, what's going on with Chris Peterson and these guys up here in Washington?
Out of every college football team, though, you've got Washington, who had a winning record and won their bowl game in their top 3.
I think that Washington should have been. They should have been. To me, they were the team to actually. To me, they were other than Oregon, with the team to beat in the North. And to me, they just didn't live up to the hype this year.
You don't even know how close I am right now to putting you on double secret man card probation and muting you just for saying Washington with a winning record and won their bowl game is one of the top 3 most disappointing teams.
Well, you're gonna be really upset with some of these teams. Okay,
let's get to my number 2. My number 2 most disappointing team in college football has to be USC. This is a team that is a blue blood, blue chip team that's got history. Clay Helton was, I don't even know who bought into the fact that Clay Helton was going to restore them to glory, but it hasn't happened. He has a 500 record in 4 years of being there. He's getting paid millions of dollars. So because you're getting paid millions of dollars, the expectation is high. Because you're coaching at USC and they have a tradition, the expectation is high. First of all, Lynn Swann walks away midseason, not like he was planning to. The AD of the whole school just walks away. I've got to believe a big chunk of that is because of the performance of the football team. Second, inexplicable loss on the road to BYU. Can't happen. BYU was not that good this year. They lost a bowl game. I know they beat Tennessee on the road in week 2, but that was a Tennessee team that was in disarray. Can't lose that game on the road. It can't happen. I don't want to hear about how many quarterbacks you've gone through. Can't happen. Keaton Slovic had played good against Utah. Can't have that loss. Recruiting nightmare. In the Pac-12, which means there's 12 other college football teams in there. Recruiting-wise, they finished 12th. What in the actual hell is going on at USC? Beyond that, they lose their bowl game. They fired 2 of their coaches immediately after the bowl game. The real coach that should have gotten fired was Clay Helton. Then you go hire Urban Meyer, like I said in week 0, before the season started. On top of that, you get blown out in your bowl game. Blown out. You made Iowa's offense look like LSU. What in the actual HE double hockey sticks is going on at USC? Not only that, recruiting, you finished 78th in the country. I don't even know how they're not my most disappointing team. Beat that. Who's your second most disappointing team? Top that one.
My second most disappointing team is one of my hated rivals, the University of Miami. I want to know what happened to Miami. Literally, what happened to Miami?
They're rebuilding. They have a new coach, and they went to a bowl game. Wait. No, you asked a question. Hold on. What happened to them is they have a new coach, they're rebuilding, and they actually went to a bowl game. There was no expectation.
No. You lose to FIU.
Can't happen.
Exactly.
Right. That's inexcusable. Can't happen.
Not only do you lose to FIU, but you get to your bowl game, and you score no points.
Right.
0.
But because of that, they're in the top 3?
Yes, they're in my top 3. You cannot lose to a FIU team and then get to a bowl game and lose to another directional school and scored no points.
Can I ask you a question?
None.
What was the expectation level on Miami coming into this season? Very high, mediocre, not too much?
I was expecting Miami to win at least 8 games. At least 8.
What?
At least 8 from...
Ray, mute him. Mute him right now. What in God's green earth are you talking about? If the expectation isn't high, then the disappointment level cannot be great. Yeah. I didn't expect anything. Manny is rebuilding down there.
He's rebuilding, but you cannot lose to these directional schools the way they lost these games.
It's year 1.
It doesn't matter. You can't.
Look, I'll give you FIU. I'll give you FIU. You can't. You cannot lose that game.
And then you can't get to a bowl game and score no points. They make your offense look like they're playing like a high school team playing Alabama. They could not move the ball whatsoever in that bowl game.
I don't know about your top 3, man. I mean, they went to a bowl game.
They went to a bowl game and they lost. They got embarrassed at a bowl game by a directional team.
Okay, who's your number 1? Most disappointing team?
My most disappointing team this year, to me, my most disappointing team is, I'm going to say is Alabama.
What?
And I can't. I'm gonna tell you.
You got 30 seconds.
I'm gonna tell you why. I mean, granted,
I'm not even joking around. You got 30 seconds. Go.
And granted, yes, I understand they lost Tua, but at the same time, whenever Alabama played against a ranked opponent for some reason, it's like they just couldn't get up for the games. I don't understand it.
We'll see what they do against Michigan.
That's my
the
point.
number 1 most disappointing team in all of college football is Alabama.
To me, is Alabama because I was expecting Alabama to be in this championship game.
Yeah, like all the myopic Alabama fans think every single year.
Because
the whole Alabama team died in a plane crash. We should still be in the college football championship.
But if you look at what Alabama had on their offense, I mean, there was a hole at linebacker this year. That's fine. Nick Saban was great at covering that up.
And their top linebacker was hurt some of the season. Do you know how hard it is for me to admit that I even know you anymore when you say stuff like this?
Again, I understand Alabama had a hole at the linebacker position. But with what Alabama had on their offense, I mean, you have 3 first-round receivers. You had a first round at quarterback, which was Tua. Granted, I understand he went. Granted, I understand that Tua went down. Understandable.
Right. Okay. It's just hard for me to. It's hard for me to believe that Alabama is your number 1 most disappointing team when there's other candidates out there that are so much better. Like my number 1 most disappointing team in college football this year, who is a true absolute disappointment. Go up to Lincoln, Nebraska, and ask anybody in that town, which is completely driven by Nebraska football, no pro sports, none of the other sports up there matter except basketball, which has been a blip on the radar the last 10 years. That whole college city is run by what Nebraska football does. You bring back the golden child, their favorite son, Scott Frost, and absolutely lay the biggest corrosion egg, filled with mold that you could possibly lay. Let's go back to the beginning of the season, to Big Ten Media Day. Who was picked to win the West? Unanimously. Nebraska. Didn't happen. Who was their Heisman candidate? I can't even believe I'm saying this. I can't say this without laughing. Adrian Martinez was a Heisman candidate at the beginning of the season. Do you know what people are saying around the country if you say that today? Who is Adrian Martinez? Heartbreaking loss at Colorado. You come from ahead to lose in the fourth quarter, a game that you never should have lost at the beginning of the season that set the tempo for the rest of the year. Blowout loss at home, primetime college game day to Ohio State, 48-7, that you were never even in. Never even in that game. Didn't even show up. No chance to win that game. End of the season, 4-game losing streak. Can't happen. Can't do it. And a loss to Purdue in the midst of that. Purdue was one of the worst teams, not only in that conference, but in the nation. Not even in the top 50. And then you get blown out by Minnesota, 34-7. No bowl game. No hope on the horizon. Not a great recruiting season. Everything about this. And when I talk to our friends up in Lincoln, we appreciate you tuning in. I say, are you guys starting to get concerned about Scott Frost? You know what they say? No. He's solid. He is bolted to the center of the earth, not going anywhere. We believe in him. Let's go. How can you be, let's go? They're the most disappointing team in college football by far. Alabama?
Yeah, man.
Okay, I can't anymore. I don't even know. Let's go to the NFL news. This is an incredible story. You got my BP up again. Congratulations. This is the 67th show in a row where you've got my BP up, and I think I'm going to have an aneurysm or heart attack or both.
Hey, man, that's what I do, man.
Antonio Brown hasn't worked out with the New Orleans Saints for some reason. Why they entertained this guy, I don't even know. Here's what a lot of people don't know is there was 5 wide receivers that they were working out. But sources close to the Saints reported Antonio Brown brought in a whole crew, a film crew, his barber, several of his childhood friends, his mechanic, 5 of his current girlfriends in no order of importance. His dentist showed up. It was like this whole circus. And he had a one-on-one talk with Sean Payton. Is there any possible way they signed this guy? Before you answer, I'm just going to give you the answer. No, there's no way they signed this guy. Now, is there any way that they signed this guy?
It shouldn't be, but it just depends on, how much they need him there. I mean, I wouldn't sign him there. I mean, when you have one of the top receivers in the league on your roster already, I don't necessarily see a need for him.
I think that this is just too much drama, and the one thing that I talk about with successful teams in sports is chemistry, team focus.
Yeah.
Organizations that have a team focus win. He is not about team. He's about Team AB. I feel bad for him. I've actually tweeted out to him and say, hey, come on, man. Let's get focused on how many blessings God's given you. Get back on the track. I'm seriously not even joking or tearing him down in a character way at all. I think there's something going on with him, and there's something going on with Manny over here. I think there's something going on with him mentally. It's like he doesn't seem to be there. But if I'm New Orleans, I don't even know what were they thinking? Like, what did they? So he has some awesome workout. You know all the other baggage that he comes with. Why was this even an option?
I mean, I guess they're looking at they want somebody on the other side, with Michael Thomas. I mean, to go into the playoffs to have that threat on both sides for Drew Brees.
Are you willing to take that kind of a chance, though? I mean, I don't see. The fact that they looked at him and the Patriots actually brought him in are 2 class organizations that do things right. What are you thinking?
Sometimes, talent trumps the baggage that comes with that player. And
I don't know.
Oftentimes, teams will overlook that baggage, to get that player because of their talent.
That's a hard reach for me to see. I'm looking at the NFL lineup getting to the games this week, and I looked over the whole lineup. Is there any good games? I'm looking at it right now. New York Buffalo, 0 interest. The Cleveland Kardashians go to Cincinnati, don't care. I mean, I'd rather poke my eyes out. Green Bay against Detroit is probably the second best matchup, and I'm not interested in that. Bolts go to Kansas City, don't care. Chicago, nothing to play for, going to Minnesota, don't care. How about Miami, New England? You want to tune in to see that one? There aren't enough 6-packs of beer in my refrigerator for me to watch that game, and I'm a New England fan. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, don't care. Carolina, New Orleans. Washington, Dallas. I mean, if I want to see a carnival, maybe I'll watch that game. Oakland, Denver. No interest at all. I mean, this is the worst NFL lineup that I've seen in years. Arizona and the Rams.
No.
If you're not related to somebody on those teams, are you going to watch that game? I'm not. Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Pitt, Baltimore. Baltimore's not playing any of their starters. I don't care. Tennessee, Houston might be a good game. The best game out of the whole NFL lineup this week. The NFL should donate their check to charity for this schedule this week. All the money that they rob and take and coerve out of people, they should just donate all their profits to charity. Charity can use it more than I need to see any of these games. The only decent game is San Francisco at Seattle. So let's talk about that one.
Yeah.
Quick pick. Who do you got in that game and why?
I'm going to take San Francisco simply because right now Seattle's been on the slide lately. I mean, last week Russell Wilson barely threw for 100 yards last week. They're just not getting Marshawn Lynch back into the fold. I mean, you don't know what type of game shape he's going to be in.
Not good.
So you're looking at them. Are they going to be able to run the ball? And so, I mean, just looking at that alone, I'm taking San Francisco.
So I'm going to go with San Francisco as well. How about all the Seattle fans on social media this week going out and getting their ring sized for the Super Bowl championship that they're going to win? By the way, you haven't beat Baltimore, who's pretty darn good. The Patriots are still in it. You still have to beat San Francisco. I don't know how much of a factor Marshawn Lynch coming back is. I think he's going to be a 3 to 3.5 per carry running back. You know, like you said, I don't know what kind of shape he's in. He hasn't played, since I was a fetus. I mean, it's like, a year and a half off and you're going to step back in. The fact he's getting $60,000 to step in and have one game where he could run for 35 yards, he could run for 85 yards. I have no idea what I'm getting. I don't think that we just crown them. I'm taking San Francisco in this game. I'm not sure if how much of an answer Marshawn Lynch is going to be bringing him back. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing is you don't know what you're gonna get out of him. And even if you go and you look at the depth chart of their running backs there in Seattle, I mean, Procise is out. I mean, you have Rashad Penny's gone. I mean, you have the other running back because of Carson. I mean, he's out. So you really only have one running back on the depth chart. So to me, that's going to.
I think it's just filling a block.
Yeah, it's going to be an issue, yes.
Yeah, I don't see that he's going to be blowing the doors off anybody because somebody else would have picked him up if he was in that great a shape. I think it's just filling a block right now. Last thing on the thing that I wanted to talk about today that I found interest in is 2 months ago I said Tyson Fury is going to win his fight against the German. He got that done. Deontay Wilder has a rematch against Ruiz. He gets that done. And they're going to fight on February 22nd and have a rematch. And this is exactly what we just got signed 2 days ago. I can't wait for this fight. I'm also super high interested in the Notorious One, who I shouldn't even be wearing this because he is such a knucklehead and has such a potty mouth. I can't be a fan of his anymore. I'm just interested in the fight with him and Cowboy Donald Cerrone, January 18th out in Las Vegas. I wish that the clouds open up and I have a chance in my schedule to get out there to see that fight. Because when Conor is in Las Vegas, I've been there, it changes everything. The whole city changes. I mean, it's an amazing atmosphere. And I think the great thing about sports is when you have atmosphere, it's why sports is awesome. Traditions create rivalries, create atmosphere. And when Conor fights in Las Vegas, it's unlike anything else in sports. But Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, I cannot wait for this fight.
Yeah, I mean it's been a rematch that should have happened by now in my estimate. But I'm anxious for this fight too because really when you look at that fight, it went both ways. I mean you some people say that Wilder knocked Tyson Fury out, and then if you go back,
he knocked him down. But technically,
could have been a 10
count.
Fight. Could have been a 10 count in that knockdown. Depends on how you look at it. But technically, your boxing skills, he did beat.
Yeah,
Deontay Wilder. Yeah.
We always hear boxing is a sport of styles. It's a style matchup. Tyson Fury, you and I would agree, 100%, no argument about it, is a better technical boxer by far than Deontay Wilder.
Yes.
Now, he can pack a punch, but Deontay Wilder, I mean, he went 7 rounds with Ruiz and I thought was losing on 6 of those rounds. And then 7th round, he's like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to pull this left hand or this right hand out of my pocket and it's lights out.
Right.
One of the most devastatingly powerful punchers in boxing. If you're not a boxing fan, I can't more highly suggest that you check out this fight because it's absolutely worth it. You're going to see 2 of the best at all times. And then it sets up the winner is going to fight Anthony Joshua. I've got to see that happening in, maybe June?
Yeah, maybe June. Yes,
and then the loser would fight Andy Ruiz Jr., which, I mean, I don't know if I even want to really see that fight. What else is going on in the world of sports, Chris?
Well, we have the Atlanta Falcons that's deciding to bring back Dan Quinn, who took the Atlanta Falcons to the Super Bowl, and then they turned around and has been going 7-9 ever since. Right now, they have a record of 6-9 right now, and possibly he's going to go back to 7-9 again today. And then on top of that, then the next story is we have Kawhi Leonard, who was AP's male athlete of the year. Which is kind of funny to me. He did take Toronto to win the national.
Yeah, is he the most popular player, the most prominent player, or the greatest athlete of the year?
I think he's probably the most popular player in the NBA. I don't take him as the male athlete of the year, but that's
that music can mean only one thing. It's time to thank our support staff. But first of all, if you want to be a part of the first round, get a hold of us at thefirstraundrd@gmail.com. Join us and subscribe on Twitter, The First Round 1, at The First Round 1, and go onto our YouTube channel, become a part of our family, help grow The First Round to epic proportions. The man on the board, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, went shopping for a Tesla yesterday. The man on my left, my co-host, Mr. Roberts, El Presidente Chet 40. Thank you to Eva, thank you to Chuck, thank you to Stacy and your whole family, all of our new subscribers and our family here in The First Round in the St. Jude studios. We will be right back here, probably Thursday, because Wednesday we're not going to have a show. Look for us later this week, probably Thursday. Until then, be kind and take care of yourselves. Thank you for joining us here today.